I'll just go out and say it. Gold Clip is 1,000,000 times better than the hardware. Like, I would never take the hardware unit if somebody gave it to me for free. Speaking of like a great company that's just a small ship who can just, you guys were able to help me. It was like, what, 2 a.m. or something? Like, dude, Burna's trying to log in with me right now so we can listen through the final album to like approve it. And you're like, oh, I can't get in. And you're like, okay. Yeah, you guys sorted me so quick, man. But
for sure,
the window industry. You know anybody that works in the window industry? These guys are unhappy.
I actually do. My dad.
My dad
owns a glass company, and that was my first job. I was a glazer. Yeah. And yeah, I was really unhappy.
Jocelyn was a glazer.
Yeah.
And
no, because you're gonna take that out of context. For fuck's sake. But how was your first NAMM as having a booth and stuff?
It was amazing, man. It was a kind of a rush to get everything put together. The first few days were it was just a lot, and then but once we settled in and the show started on Thursday morning, it was amazing. I was comforted by a warm wave of just greetings from good friends, and it was just this, man. It was just enjoying the camaraderie with the boys. And some girls.
I love the setup you had, because it was quite different to the rest of everyone else's setup. Like, it wasn't like, you weren't demoing your plugins or anything. You just had an old Nintendo, and I got spanked on GoldenEye by like 10-2 or something like that.
10-1.
Oh, dude. Give me 2.
Yeah, there were a few heavy hitters walking around, and they would sit down and they made everybody want to cry afterward, man. We had some good gamers hanging with us this week. It was fun.
Yeah.
I like that. What was the thought process behind doing it like that, though?
We just kind of wanted to take the piss on the show, because it was just, I feel like everybody in this industry takes everything way too seriously. And, at this point, it's like, you have 364 other days of the year to go check out our products online. And we have extensive demos and, a pile of YouTube content creators that also make demos and reviews. So it's like, if you want to see the product, you can go see it anywhere else. Like, while we're at the show, let's focus on, instead of me like hard selling you on this product and showing you the features, it's like, why don't we hang out and game, and I'll kick your ass a little bit at Smash Bros or GoldenEye, and we'll just, kind of develop some rapport and some relationships and have fun.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a much nicer way of connecting with your customer base or whatever, because it breaks down you're not treating them like a customer. You're treating them like a friend or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And
totally.
Someone to hang out with, and builds in the long run, you're going to build a much deeper connection to the brand.
Absolutely. And I was amazed at how many, types of different conversations came up. And, it's always, you have those real conversations when you're gaming, sitting there. And I realized how many years it had been. So I'm not like an avid gamer or anything. But, back in the 90s and 2000s, that was the way we developed friendships.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah. So I ended up getting to learn a lot about, our consumers and, what they're looking for. And I would always ask, what should we make next? What's missing in your repertoire?
So smuggle in some business.
Let's get some intel.
When is because now I've seen your ads on Instagram and stuff is hilarious. I would never be allowed to do that kind of thing. But that's always been a part of your personality. I remember I interviewed you way back, but you weren't, if I can say this, you weren't fully putting that up front at the time, I remember. I think you were kind of maybe I want to be sort of
holding back a bit.
Very earnest, kind of I got my Grammy now, and maybe I want to present a little differently.
Yeah, totally. The polish is coming off. Now we can just...
Yeah.
Now we can just... I don't know. I just want to be who I am, and I think that the eccentric part of myself that maybe I was always taught to hide and put away, all the way back from being yelled at by teachers and getting slapped on the wrist. It's like, no, man. I think that those are the parts of my personality that I just gotta can let it out, even when it's very inappropriate and gets me into a lot of trouble at the NAMM show.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well, you want to break that down, like.
What events transpired at the NAMM show?
Yeah. Let's be specific. What was the name of that?
How many beers were consumed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I came up. I won't say what it was, but there was a couple of like, whoa, conversations. Like, what? Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, we had a good time doing that panel in the PMC.
Oh, definitely. Fun, that was great. Thank you for joining.
Of course.
Yeah, it was cool. It was nice for obviously guys watching at home. It was a panel not so much based around obviously Jesse's mixing career. You know, we're going to talk about it today, and there's loads and loads of information about that online as well, and all great tutorials with Mix with the Masters as well. But we dived in.
Not Mix with the Masters, but
Oh, it wasn't Mix with the Masters?
No.
Who was it?
No, it's Fab Depots.
Yeah, Pure Mix.
Oh,
Pure Mix.
I apologise.
Yeah.
But
Sorry,
I'm interested in doing Mix with the Masters too.
There you go. So it's a free plug.
Yeah.
But we spoke about you as more of an entrepreneur and diving into expanding your business. And it was super fascinating. And, you know, maybe we could revisit some of that today in terms of like the birth of the plugin company and what sort of like how that came about and why it came to be.
Yeah. Well, this was a pandemic business, so it was. We're sitting around locked in our houses, and you know, anytime we did go out, we're wearing masks, and it was a really weird time, and we all remember. And I was mixing, and you know, I was testing plugins for a new friend of mine, Eddie, who developed these plugins, and he was like, "Man, I love the feedback that you're giving for these tools. Like, how would you market these things if this was you?" He was like a one-man show. And I was like, well, why don't we put our heads together? Can we make something together? Like that would be amazing. And we did, and it was kind of half serious at first. And our first few products are a little bit rough. We're still getting our feet wet with it. But it was like in the last like year and a half where it's like, oh man, this is like,
Make some cool shit.
Yeah, we made our first plugin that I think it came out in like 22 or 23. Not our first plugin, but like the first plugin that like sold quite well. I was like, oh, this is
was that the Rubber Band? Or was that
Rubber Band? Yeah, that I felt like it sold pretty well at the time. And then we released Subloom like 3 or 4 plugins later. Yeah. And Subloom's like still, it's like our
the flagship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our best seller by far. And we were like, oh man, we gotta like take this seriously now.
Yeah.
Continue to build the catalog and scale.
And you're a bit of a gearhead, low key. I mean, there's like almost nothing here, but because
there's a couple of cool bits.
There's a couple of bits here. We got the Scully back there and stuff. But really, there was bits of gear from the past that you thought had never been modeled, or people hadn't got it right, or what was that? Yeah,
I mean, there's loads of pieces of gear. Like I think I said the other day, like probably like 100 pieces of gear that have never been modeled, and a whole bunch that just haven't really been done justice in the modeling process. And not only that, but like every person who sits down to make music, we all have this different, we have a different background, a different set of experiences, a different aesthetic, and different ways of doing things, different chains. And just simply put, we just have different musical DNA. And I know that I do, and I have these really unique processes that, you know, these are pretty elaborate chains that are kind of a pain in the butt to set up, and they're like really complicated to explain to somebody. But I know that, you know, if we can kind of develop that stuff and design it under the hood and make it like just a couple simple knobs with a pretty interface, like it could be really useful for somebody and really empower them to make some like really effective music without having to think too much about all the complicated,
technical
all the crap.
Stuff. Yeah, because I think that's a fair point. Like obviously, when a lot of this, especially the older gear, came about, the people that were using it weren't sort of like the engineers that exist today. You know, they were, you know, obviously, you know, the guys like yourself go the extra mile and learn about all of this stuff and the technical side of it. But like me, for instance, I don't know how to solder or take apart a piece of machinery. I don't have a degree in science. You know what I mean? So like I've had a real learning curve, you know, at the early stage of my career to actually understand what these units were doing, and then even like how to pull that into the emulation style. So having like a bit of more of a re-envisioned look on that, I think is refreshing and gives people a different perspective on what these tools can do, and without having to, you know, figure out a whole user manual.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I do miss user manuals. That's the one thing. Some of these companies, they would have fun with it. Like I noticed looking back through one recently, like I think it was the distressor manual, which you really shouldn't need to read the distressor manual. To be honest,
it's simple.
But yeah, there's Easter eggs in there, and there's tips, and there's like some puns, and like you know. So we actually, I've been taking pride in like writing. We've had to go back now because we released like 4 or 5 plugins in a row where we just like didn't have a user manual for any of it. Because my whole philosophy was like, dude, if you can't open up the plugin and just figure it out, like you're screwed. Get out of here. Go watch the
Just
YouTube
have
video.
a listen.
Yeah,
turn the knob, see what it sounds
yeah,
like.
it's like nobody reads the manual. And then I found out like so many people rely on the manual because they want to go in and find out what's going on. And so I've been rewriting them now, and like it's incredibly fun. And I actually have to kind of go back and learn about our product. Like, I have to ask Eddie, our developer, like, wait, what did that knob do? I've always just known it has this effect on the sound. Well, what is it doing under the hood?
Mm-hmm.
So always learning, man.
Yeah. What was so obviously the latest plugin, UNFAIRCHILD, super iconic compressor. You know, it's been emulated a few times already. You know, what was the thought process in being like, okay, cool, I'm gonna make my own version? Because like, you know, there's some big hitters out there where of that emulation already exists. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Well, it was, you know, a hero of mine, Eric Valentine, brilliant record maker, and also the owner of Undertone Audio. So he's responsible for that UNFAIRCHILD hardware unit like existing in the world. You know, it was like I think mid 2000s he got the idea to sort of, you know, build a clone of this and revamp it and figure it out with his tech that he works with. And but then it was a couple of years ago he approached us and said, you know, I'm a fan of the rubber band compressor. I know you guys do plugins. Are you interested in trying to make an Undertone like a plugin for us?
Oh, amazing.
And you know, in my mind, I was like, yeah, we have to do this. This is an opportunity to collab with, you know, one of the greats, a guy that I've been stealing tricks from forever. And so, and just like I thought, during the entire process, I got to, you know, sit beside him and have him break down for me what he's hearing and how he, you know, what he's listening for. And so like, not only did we learn a lot, you know, in the development stage as a plugin company, but like as an engineer getting to work with him, like I went from here to, you know, 1,000 levels up by the end of it. So
there's something really cool happening. I mean, we were talking about it at NAMM, and where I feel like we're kind of in this era of like boutique makers again.
Yeah, well, it's something that's like I love and I think it's great. You know, guys like yourself, Ryan Schwab, Devon. You know, it's like
Decap, Safari.
Exactly. It's like
the gang.
The industry's like shifting back to the user almost. Like that, you guys, the users of the plugins, are now creating the plugins, and I personally think that like we're going to end up getting a much like better a better response from like the plugin community and how it all works being that way, because you know obviously we all know that there's been some movement in like the bigger companies that have upset people and stuff like that over the years, and you know this way it feels like a lot more like direct and to consumer. You guys understand it and you
there's a face, there's a person, right? It's like you're saying, hey, I love this plugin, come play Goldeneye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, if it's one of the huge big guys, who do you know what I mean? Like, who do you even like interact with? And some guys do it really well. Some companies do it well, and they have those approachable people. But I feel like they're being a human being, and then you're having fun with it, and kind of going, well, I always wanted to mix with this piece of hardware. No one modeled it.
Totally, and not only a human being, but like a human being who has, you know, also all those companies you listed, like Safari with NAMM, Devon, you know, Ryan with Gold Clip. It's like all of these artist-owned plugin companies. These are, you know, guys who have built the trust because they've been making records for like, you know, a decade or more. So it's like I love using all their stuff, and I can tell like when I have like Safari stuff or especially Gold Clip, you know, I'm using Ryan's plugin every single day on every mix. It's just like I can tell the thought went into this. Somebody knew the pain points I was going to have when turning that knob up and what I was going to experience with the low end hitting the clipper. It's just like it's already been thought through and figured out, and it's just it's wonderful.
Yeah, it wasn't made by an engineer that actually doesn't mix music.
Yeah,
like, somewhat like, you know, just a software developer that has no idea and just gets the piece of hardware and models it. Like they're changing it. Like what you said with Ryan's plugin, you know, it's modeled on a particular unit, but he's taken it another level past that and tweaked it in a way that he feels like it would make it even a better experience
great point.
for us engineers to use.
Oh, and I'll just go out and say it. Gold Clip is 1,000,000 times better than the hardware. Like, I would never take the hardware unit if somebody gave it to me for free.
Wow.
Gold Clip gives you so much more flexibility because you can link the in and out. So you can dial in the processing without hearing the change in level.
Yeah.
To my knowledge,
hear, like, real time, like, it's the
yeah,
loudness,
and the hardware doesn't let you do that. And like that is just barely scratching the surface on what the plugin does that the hardware doesn't. It's like we've completely surpassed the, what analog needed to be or what it did, and the necessity is not there to have hardware anymore. Like my assistant the other day was like, "Man, I can't wait to save up some cash this year and buy some hardware." I was like, "Dude, no, do not put the money in a Roth IRA or as a high yield savings account and just set up for the future." So
Talking on the topic of hardware. So obviously, I made a comment when we came in here. So for everyone watching, we're in Jesse's room. This is where you do most of your mixing, you'd say.
Yeah.
We're in the backyard.
Yeah.
I mixed outside all year while this building was being built, and now it's done, so I'm inside.
I remember you were like, it's getting hot.
Dude, it's so hot. We had the crate. It was like 107, like a week in a row out there.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway,
but this it's a slightly unorthodox setup. I feel like I might be wrong in saying that, but there's no big desk. You've just got this. You got your keyboard goes on your lap. It's there. It's all very relaxed. You sit on the sofa and you mix.
Totally.
So it feels all about like comfort and a vibe for you. Is that more like of an essential part of your studio than maybe having like everything like perfectly spec'd and having all the equipment like wherever you need it and maybe too much equipment?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about sound. The having that equipment in the desk and near you is just like, it just messes it up. Like to have that reflection point, the big work surface in front of you, because the sound is, traveling to your ears, it's traveling up, it's traveling around, it's traveling down, hitting that, it's bouncing off and reflecting at a different time. Yeah. So you're getting a comb filtered like sound and you're getting cancellations, and it's just not accurate. It makes it really frustrating. You have to work like twice as much and twice as long to like go check it in the car and then learn like, oh no, I'm missing, I overcut the bass at 80, like, damn it, I got to go back in. I got really sick of that. And I was studying like a lot of like hi-fi room type stuff. So like these really, really high level, like listening type consumers who just are really like audiophile people. They just know how to get all their setups is just a set of speakers and the couch. And they usually have like a keyboard or like a keyboard and mouse, like on a coffee table. Or they'll just have a remote just for playback, for changing. And I thought, well, dude, that's going to be what I do. And the Strauss monitors have this very widely dispersing horn in the top end. So like, I'll stand up a lot of the time and just do standing desk, or I'll sit, or I'll be back there on the couch.
Yeah, because you can raise yourself up above and still be in a good spot, right?
Yeah, these shoot a balanced sound anywhere in the room. And the room is a Gerhard Westphalen design, so it's just like it just sounds even anywhere you go in the room. It
is a very nice sounding room.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
it's like not, we're still kind of alive. The hills are alive.
Yeah, but you're not getting like sharp reflections going around anyway. Yeah, it's nice. And you have a window, which I think is
2 windows.
Perfect.
Yeah, it helps.
Are these your main speakers that you're running on?
100%. And these bad boys.
Oh, okay.
MS-10s forever. That's what I learned.
They're hooked up. You can just switch in straight away.
Yeah. And I'll go back and forth, but the Strauss is like that's the speaker I'll die on.
I noticed the chord amplifier. You a big fan?
Yeah, it's chord all the way.
I met these guys. This NAMM, had a great conversation with them.
Yeah.
Going to meet up with them when we're back in the
Tom
UK.
and Colin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tom I was speaking
guys.
to. Yeah, really nice guys. And yeah, they're gonna send me one of their headphone amps to like try out and test out.
Mojo too. It makes perfect sense that you guys would have synergy with them. That's some
Yeah.
good UK chaps.
Yeah, great guys. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and yeah, apparently their stuff sounds amazing.
Sure. I mean, there's simply no contest. It's like, I will objectively state it, like that chord just makes the most unbelievable stuff, and they don't pay me a dime to say that. And I'm not even a sponsored artist. I'm just like a...
How did you land on this setup? Like, how did you shoot out through different monitors, and like, how did you kind of end up on the Strausses and like?
Yeah, well, I got like super into passive speakers a few years ago because everything just seems to, I don't know, everything sounds weird to me. But like I came up on NS10s. So then I was like using Proax for a minute too, and I really liked that. And then I had these Amphions. That was kind of a similar flavor. But I had Genelex and Barefoot, and I was not really into that stuff as much. And PMC and the ATC thing is just kind of confusing too. But then I heard these Strauss monitors, and it was Eric Valentine who was talking about these. And yeah, it's just a perfect passive two-way monitor. Because like every speaker manufacturer out there, they have to meet like a bottom line. They have to, they pair they pair the components, put them together, build an enclosure, design a crossover that's going to work with the components, all within a kind of a price range that's going to work and sell to the masses. That's the goal of every speaker manufacturer. I get it.
Yeah.
We all got to eat. Not this guy. This guy's just an obsessed psycho in Switzerland. He took like 20 years to design like the first set, and they don't even make drivers that he found low enough in distortion with great enough microdynamic response. So he just paid like his life savings to have this manufacturer like design and like make him all new drivers. Like,
wow.
So it was just a labor of love for him. And then he spent another 5 years designing the crossover, making it just perfect so that it's truly like the best speaker you can get.
Bizarrely, you get that a lot in speakers. Like, I think people think like, because often they have the biggest booths at NAMM or whatever, and they need big showrooms because they need to be able to show the gear. But
it's a hard thing to display at something like.
But like ATC is like little operation in the UK. PMC is literally a family. Like it's like Dutch and Dutch is like they're all they're like, and it's something about that world. It's like they're just passionate people. And they're like,
it's amazing.
We make speakers. Yeah. Friend of mine, her dad, like, he's like a one-man band. And I don't know if he still is, but he made Brian May's amps forever. And it was like him. The company was him. You know what I mean? It's just like...
Yeah, people don't really realise that, do you know what I mean? When they're buying all these speakers and stuff. And like...
You think it's like...
Yeah, and then something goes wrong and they're like... And like we're trying our best, you know what I mean? Shit, like
totally.
All these audio companies, like for the majority anyway, are like super small. You know what I mean? And everyone's just trying to. No one really has a fucking clue what they're doing. Everyone's just trying to make it work.
Wow. Totally. Yes.
But Audiomovers know what they're doing.
I personally don't, but Igor and everyone does.
Talking of Audiomovers, good segue. Is that something that you use a lot in your workflow?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, it was 2 or 3 days before NAMM. Speaking of like a great company that's just a small ship who can just, you guys were able to help me. It was like, 2 a.m. or something?
I think it was like 1:30 my time or something like that.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, Burna's trying to log in with me right now so we can listen through the final album to like approve it. And you're like, I can't get in. And you're like, okay. And you guys sorted me so quick, man. But I end up working on like a lot of this like world music, Afrobeats, R&B, some stuff out of the UK, a lot of stuff out of Africa, and now more and more stuff from Latin America. And so it's like generally I'm never in the room with these people, and and sometimes we get to the part of the notes process where like it's like there's something at 206, but I can't really put my finger. Is there a way we could stream the audio? I'm like, he took the words right out of my mouth. So I'll send the Audiomovers link. And my favorite way to do it is not even to like sit on the phone call with them and you play the muting shuffle game, but we'll just jump in.
We got talkback now. Just now.
The update.
As of now.
Really?
We need to get back on an airplane and launch, but we got talkback now.
Everyone.
Amazing.
Everyone watching this, it'll be
but by the time you see this, 128 channels, talk about loads of stuff. Yeah, loads of good stuff.
Incredible.
But
cool.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, no, I love to just get into an iMessage or a WhatsApp thread and just like, I'll have it just playing on loop or we'll zoom in on certain sections. But like, anybody on the team who is there and joining, usually, or sometimes me one-on-one with the producer, the artist, we'll just talk, or they'll just send all their notes. And
okay, so you're not doing video, you're just doing the WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's just like, it's beautiful, it's easy, and that way there is...
I might have to try that. I like that, not having to be on the call.
Also, you got a bit of a record anyway. You've got like What They Said. you know?
Totally.
So if you go like, we couldn't crack it on this call. Okay, I've still got it. It was at 2:06 and it was you know what I mean? It was the way into the chorus.
You remembered. You remembered the timestamp.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you work obviously a lot of like Afrobeat, Burna Boy is like, I love Burna Boy and I love that. I actually am a massive fan of the mixes and how upfront and almost
too loud things.
Yeah, no, but it's like it's
knew where
great.
you were going.
It is great though because it's especially his vocal because it leans into like him and his personality, like larger than life, like African giant and
Totally.
And when you hear the music, it really like feels like that. You know what I mean? Is that something that you, with the Burna stuff, like have considered and talked about, and was like a conscious decision when mixing the record?
Yeah. When they prep an album for mix, he tours all year round, and he'll work on an album all year. And then when it's like he has the batch of tunes he's ready with, I'll generally go over to his house. They'll be in town finishing an album, and I'll just go sit with them and listen to it. And then at some point in the evening, I just say, "All right, man, we're back again. What do you want me to do? What can I do to bring out your vision on this? What are we thinking? What are we thinking this time?" And on this last one, he said, "Man, just make me sound like the best singer in the world." Or a couple albums ago, he said like, "Make me sound like a giant." So
yeah.
Or there have been times where he wants
a word. That's actually a word that he used.
Yeah,
amazing.
Or there's times where he wants the vocal tucked back and the percussion is the lead of the song.
I was gonna say, there's rhythmic elements. You started when you pulled it out on the board and you started pulling out some of. They're not even like it's like percussion hats. There's loads of crazy rhythms in there, and like on some tracks, they're really forwards, and sometimes they're really, and it's his voice carrying it. Yeah.
I mean, that's a big thing in like Afrobeat and stuff like that. It's all about like that driven effect, and like a lot of Afrobeat. This is why I actually found listening to those projects really refreshing, because I listen to a lot of Afrobeat, especially Afrobeat that originates in the UK from UK artists. Everything has to be so compressed to the point where I'm like uncomfortable with compressing it like this. Yeah, like more compression, drive it. It's got to be flatter, like and more in your face. And I felt like, we got a turning point here, because all these artists are gonna listen to this project and take advice maybe, and like that's gonna be the new standard. So because his vocal is loud and it is up front, but there's still movement and dynamic in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll say we're like rarely compressing and getting things super loud on his stuff. Like his masters usually go out like -12, -10, 11, 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple on the new album where like the producer, we had to match the producer mix at like -5 or 6. And but when it gets to mastering, we're just gonna turn those ones down to meet with mine.
Yeah. His vocal sounds like, I mean, you played I've heard you play like a cappella and stuff like that, To me, it always sounded like there was a lot of processing on his voice, because I was like, whose voice sounds like? And you, but then you said not the exact opposite, but you were like, vocal sounds great. Burna's the man,
Yeah.
But what can you talk about? What you're doing and what that chain is and how you're treating him? Because I feel like now you've built this relationship with him over years. It's like, cool. Vocals are dialed. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, like the first couple albums that I did with him, I was building that chain from scratch, different for every song. Right. So African Giant album, and then the Twice as Tall album. It'd be like Pro Q3, CLA 76, probably into like some sort of limiter, and then just like the typical like. I've got my parallel like shift buses, like a couple different micro shift style things, H3000, and then just literal time adjuster stuff that's different on the left and the right, and
making it wider.
Yeah. There's just a few of those that I'll put in, and then I'll just kind of EQ all those to like a little darker. And
I want to pick your brain about that after this.
Yeah.
It just sounds so rich and like, I don't know. Like
it's the wideness. I'm there trying to do the same thing, and I'm like, fuck. And they send me your mixes as the reference. Yeah, use this, and I'm like, well, fucking going higher, Jesse, because fuck, I'm gonna struggle.
I'm maybe going higher Burna, because his voice is kind of just like crazy. Yeah.
Do you know the microphone he uses?
C800 now, I think, most of the time. Right. But like I tracked him once on a C12, which was really cool. I think he sounds best on the 251, but same K67 capsule as the C800. So like either of those two, I think is going to be really good.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, generally, but the extra thing with the width too is getting, you know, your long verb, your medium, and then your early reflection too, just to like, so like I'm using a couple different slaps to like get the dimension, and then like a really quick, like a room, like a Valhalla room, and then kind of blending in like a dark quarter note, and then kind of, you know, just different layer. Like, so by the end of like any vocal, I have like 15 different like effects returns, just like contributing to this, you know, believable reality that he's performing in an ambient space.
Yeah.
That feels close and far.
You had something where you had like stacks of effects buses where you were ABCing and like jumping between loads of different things. I can't remember. Yeah. And you were like,
I have an effects run that runs to an auxiliary that's basically sending out to all these different ones, and then there's like 20 of them, and then I'm just like, shoot, no, yep,
yeah.
And that's like embedded in your template. That's just there from the go.
Yeah. That thing just rules.
Yeah, and then if you ever come up with anything new, you just like add that in.
Add it. Yeah, and honestly though, they're all just like stock. It's like Seventh Heaven on the stock setting, and Valhalla on the stock, Shimmer on the Shimmer's on my own thing. But like, yeah.
And how does that work when he goes? And as you said, he's on the road almost constantly. How does that work in terms of like his vocals? Is there a line of communication with that?
Being consistent, you mean?
Yeah. Like
as of late, the last couple albums, I don't know the ins and outs of his schedule and where he records when and why, but it does seem like all the like final, like when he gets ready to get into album, like all the final stuff gets recorded with his engineer Otis.
Right.
And that was the last thing I was going to add is Otis's vocal chain is what they set up together now. You know, I can't take credit for that. That's what he does on like the last couple albums. And then this upcoming one is Otis's vocal chain. And then generally I'm just taking and leaving all that stuff and then really just sculpting it from there and pulling out resonances and just kind of automating the effects up and down in sections. Really just mixing, you know, they engineered and recorded it, and I'm just taking it and kind of sculpting the final outcome of the song.
Yeah.
Is there like a process you look at when it comes to, again, just on his music in particular, there's a very big, wide variety of like synthesized, big, hard-hitting sounds and lots of like live percussion, especially over his latest albums. It feels like he's got a lot more musicians involved and like actual playing. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it feels like there's a lot more real like played
or at
music.
least sampled live instruments.
Is that sort of like,
last is a sampled live instrument?
Yeah. But like it's like the definition between the two in the mix is there because you're getting all of the power, but like it feels very floaty on some of these like real life instruments. Is that something that you're like consciously doing, or it comes naturally?
Yeah, it must be just an instinctual thing. I must be just instinctually just great, killing it. You know? No, it's it's such a cop out answer, but it's like it's such a feel thing. Like, you know, it's when I talk about music, I have this kind of like I make this gesture with my hands because I think about it just like sort of sculpting or spreading paint around or spreading, but really that's just like it's what it is. I don't have faders, but you know what I have is like, you know, I have the trackpad and I have the command key, which I think it's the command key, but like, no, it might be option. So when you click and hold the fader, like if you go up a little bit, like it'll go like 30 dB up in the wrong direction.
Right,
so I'm going like through the song, one thing at a time, just grabbing each fader while holding, you know, I think it's option. And just, because you can just wrench your finger up 3 inches and it'll only give you like half a dB.
Nice,
so like you can really get extremely surgical with the balances. And I think like that's the most fun mixing I have is when I'm just going through and just really feeling like I'm aggressively moving the faders, but it's just giving me these micro changes. And by the time you've done that, when you have a master bus built up, and by the time you've gone through and like really adjusted the balance of your mix, like a lot of the time I'll just spend like 30 minutes just listening to the beat and just listening to the, you know, the bass and just together and just rebalancing their groove and like with the volume very, very fucking loud, just to like really get it pounding and just feeling right. And then from there, it's like, it just all kind of comes together. Then you start sculpting, EQing, get it into a place. Like last night, I was wrapping up a mix, and like I knew it was done because I was just like, the message of the song actually hit me. I was like, oh, it was incredible. And I had tears in my eyes and
amazing.
finger up in the air. I stood up, and when I stand up from sitting and get into the dancing position, then I kind of.
Well, that's a nice thing about your setup as well.
Yeah.
It feels like you can move as well.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, like, without the desk and just having your trackpad and stuff, like you're eliminating a lot of distraction. You know, it's like, because if you've got stuff on the desk, like you see your phone ping off, like, you know what I mean, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You're like always I find myself always getting distracted and like moving away from the mix. Like it feels like you're like homed in. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I'm looking at this genuinely. Because I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm fucking gonna remove my desk when I get home. I'm gonna give it a go.
Measure before and after. You'll see. You'll see. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't need it.
And how do you feel about, because that was interesting, you were talking about like sculpting and there's something in your mind's eye. How do you think about, you know, there's something we talked about, Ryan Schwab is really interesting. And you were talking about, you know, seeing, and actually Kalen, District Sound Lab, he said the same thing, is like your ears can sometimes be informed by your eyes. We're so visually, what the word is, coded. You know, how do you, because there is that temptation now with plugins to kind of go, okay.
Pro Q3 and Pro Q4 is like, you know, I think for like newer engineers is sort of like destroying how they approach a mix, because they're just like looking at all these peaks and they're seeing everyone like making all these cues and they're just overdoing it. Like
I turn that off for that exact reason. I turn off the display.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll turn it on when I want to see in the low end. If I hear a bass note boom out too loud, it's like I need to see.
Yeah.
Because it'll tell me if the low end is inconsistent. But yeah, that is a complete problem, man. Seeing with your eyes. So I do this trick where I'll hit Command Option Escape, and it pulls up the Mac Force Quit Applications window, and that's like a floating static window that can't be hidden. So you can click on you can click back to Pro Tools or click to whatever application you want, and that stays on the screen blocking whatever you have. So I'll move that in front of the meters. You know, or not like on Pro Q, but like on a limiter or compressor. If you don't want to, I don't want to see how much gain reduction is happening. So I cover that part up, go back to Pro Tools, and then I continue to adjust it.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, I got nothing to look at. And I do the same thing in Pro Tools. I remove gain reduction from the metering. I don't want to see that either.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I guess like if you feel like, oh, I'm not getting enough or too much, but like that you're just looking at the gain there. Like it's not a feeling thing. That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, first time I ever opened Pro Q, I mean I'm like, you know, not a mix engineer like you guys, but that was the first thing I did, was like, well, I guess I should remove, it's showing me that I should remove that, and I guess I mean,
it's terrible.
You know,
I've had friends, we spoke about it before, where they've like nicked a channel strip of mine or whatever, and I don't mind, they're fine, like take it, but like I've gone to their house and it would have been like a rap channel strip, and I've done all of this EQ because like the vocal was recorded in a bathroom or something like that, trying to fix things, and then they've got it on like a nice singer or something like that, and I'm like, bro, like I don't mind you taking the tape, but like, bro, like at least fix it, like you know what I mean, like do some stuff with it, because this is not what it's about, you know. But they're not mixing engineers or whatever, they're just making songs and, you know, just trying to catch a vibe, and they're like, oh, well, Jocelyn's stuff sounds great, so like if I take it, it's
just take the whole time.
But that's not what it's about. Like, you know, it sounds good because I use my ears. Like,
Totally.
Yeah. It's cool. Mentioned about, you know, the Grammys and stuff like that, and I love to know, because I feel like it's a bit of a polarizing topic sometimes with the Grammys, but like, what does the Grammys mean to you, and what does it mean to, you know, have a Grammy and things like that?
Yeah, it's a dream come true. It's, you know, it's something, you know, I come from a musical family, so I've known what a Grammy was since I was a little kid, and I never got to see one or hold one until I won one, you know, like 30 years later. And yeah, it's amazing. It's an enormous blessing and a reminder of just like what can be possible if you become very, very, very lucky, like me. If you work kind of hard and become very lucky. Yeah, so it's amazing. But like, you know, kind of like Rafa said the other day, like the awards is like, that's just a tiny little part of what the Grammys are about.
That opened my eyes so much. I had no idea. Like genuinely.
Yeah, so the Recording Academy is really important for the culture and the community, and they're out here just really raising money right now for the fires that are going on and taking care of business, and they really advocate and they lobby at Congress to pass bills that help us continue to be able to make a living doing this, and it's amazing. So who knows where the music industry would even be without something like the Recording Academy.
Yeah, and having something that is not like a profit-making company. It's an advocacy. It's something that's like built by, run by people who make music. And contribute to music. And you see that in industries where they don't have it.
For sure. The window industry. You see those? You know anybody that works in the window industry? These guys are unhappy.
I actually do. My dad owns a glass company, and that was my first job. I was a glazer. And I was really unhappy.
Jocelyn was a glazer.
Yeah.
And
no, because you're gonna take that out of context. For fuck's sake. Oh no, that's terrible. But let's get back on topic and scratch that. Fuck's
what
sake.
is the topic?
Fuck's sake.
You have an immense amount of accolades and like crazy projects under your belt, Grammys, platinum, all that rest. Like, and I'm looking around this room and I don't see a single sign of any of that in here, which again, I feel like is quite unusual for a studio. Is that a conscious decision that you decided to not have those things in here, or is it about the sound, maybe?
It's not the sound. There is wall space. There's plenty of wall space. I brought out some of the plaques. Like I have a couple, and because it was really, again, meaningful to like order that first plaque years ago. And so I had them out. I was gonna like hang them up in here, and then I had some company come over. And like before they were up against the wall in the bathroom, and before they could even go in there, I felt so awkward about it. As I went in and just like turned them around and put them away.
Oh, right.
It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's sort of a look at me thing, which I've gone through, periods of struggling and battling with my like ego in this, because I think we all have a little bit of that going on.
100%.
But like, the reason we make art and the intention behind all of it is, it's not for the awards. It really is exciting to have something pop off and like go, like, it's great. It's obviously, it really helps keep the business going too. But it's not about that. And I think especially having clients over, which is the whole point of building a studio, was to like be able to get people to come hang with me in my LA room, which is, another dream come true. And I don't want anybody I work with a lot of indie artists, and I don't want them to ever feel like I'm like on a level above, or they're intimidated, or they see that girl on the plaque on the wall. Like just don't want any sort of thoughts about anybody. It's all about them when they come in here. It's only about them.
Yeah. Also, like as you're saying, like you really do work across different genres, and like now, with Burna Boy and Doja Cat, that's going to be what you're associated with for a period of time. But like your background, I mean, randomly, I'm sure I spoke to you and I was like, oh, Jeff Braun, and you were like, oh yeah. I'm like,
the homie.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Jeff's doing like crazy, huge country records down in Nashville.
And I are from the same hometown.
This is it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, there is something like that where it's sometimes engineers, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but like, I don't know, you do a certain type of record, it blows up, and then people are like, well, I'm not going to give you this record. You know what I mean?
Have you been pigeonholed?
Like, yeah, I'm not going to give you this,
Yeah, I'm not, yes, I've been pigeonholed, but like, yeah, it's funny because, I come from like this rock, country, and metal, and like jazz kind of background, and that's like the stuff that I end up hanging with quite a bit. And now I'm like, I mix completely different styles of music that I didn't even know existed back then. Well, Afrobeats, in the way that it exists today, didn't quite exist like that back then.
Yeah.
But like, it's amazing. And a lot of the people, that's a common thread though, is people that work in a lane that they're really not from. And I think that's what allows us to bring edge. If I can bring some of the tricks that I know to get banging rock drums into an R&B thing or a rap thing, Afrobeats, that's my unique take on it, and I can help bring some value to the client.
And giving it a different perspective.
Yeah,
I'd say I would say the same. I do a lot of like drill and stuff like that, and I mean I don't think you've ever seen a drill artist dressed like that.
Sharp dressed man right here.
But like
in the studio.
But I think that's one thing that I think is important. Obviously, you seem to have like been able to move across the genres as Matt was saying, and it's like I do think it can happen though. You know, like people do get like stuck in a trend. Something that I'm currently transitioning through, breaking from different genres and trying to do different stuff. Would you say that I don't know? I was thinking about it the other day that maybe like that's an LA thing, that like you're able to, because LA is so got so many different genres. It's the center of the musical world, really. Like that allows you more easily to move between genres.
I've never thought about that. I don't know, but I do agree. It's like the musical epicenter of the world.
Yeah.
It does seem like we have a little bit of everything going on here, and Nashville's kind of becoming that too. Yeah. I love it. I'm really thankful to like get to work on different types of things, and yeah, so it's special, man. I mean, this was the whole. I just kept saying this last week. This is just was like the MO of my narrative is just, and we're so lucky to get to do this. Like we like literally out of any type of life you could be thrown into, or any type of life you could choose to lead. Like we get to work on like in music. Like
it's great.
I think that's always the thing. It's like just like being like, you know, and a lot of people have said similar things where, okay, actually the success has come, you know, or like, you know, and eventually the money materializes, you know what I mean? Eventually you're not, you know, made a terrible mistake with your life. And then you get to be like, you know, you work in music, you know, and it's like this thing that we're all obsessed with. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, dude, when I was like, just like broke as a joke, you know, like working like 5 jobs, like singing in the wedding band and playing in like cover bar bands and teaching guitar lessons and trying to tune vocals for people and trying to learn to produce songs for clients and like all that stuff together. And I was making like $22,000 a year. It's like, it was terrible. I was as happy as can be. Like it was just a dream come true then to be able to work on music and have it be the thing. And so I was already happy when I had nothing and I was able to do this. So there was nowhere to go but up, even if I could plummet from here and I'll
you done it. Yeah,
still be okay.
Yeah. So stick the Grammy on eBay, you know.
When was the shift into, because I guess, you know, you're predominantly just mixing now, I guess, and obviously the plugins and stuff. Like when was the shift into this world, like in just being, okay, I'm just going to be mixing now?
Yeah, it was right after I came home from the run with Kanye West, recording him, engineering on what would become, you know, songs that would come out later on, Jesus is King, Donda, Vultures 2. So I had this kind of like little discography built up. But I also was thinking, I was like, well, that's literally the peak of the mountain for like a recording engineer. Not going to top that. And I think with that discography now, you know, coming home from that trip, I think I was able to, or I thought I would be able to leverage it into, you know, getting management as a mixer and be able to show them like, hey, this is what I just did with this opportunity. And somehow that did work. I thought that was it. I thought you were gonna say no, it didn't work. You're like, well, it did, but I think it did because I eliminated a plan B. I just came home and I was like, I don't want to record sessions anymore. Like I want to levitate, you know. So I came home and I sank my other ships. So I sold my whole like wedding sound PA package that I would go out and like DJ or play weddings. Like I sold all the PA equipment. I sold half of my studio gear. I sold all the preamps and my microphones. I sold just everything that was a recording engineer or like any of the other jobs I had. I'm done with it. And I bought like some really just badass, like simple, like I bought like an 1178 and a vintage 1176, just like serious mixing gear. And then I rebranded my whole Instagram page as like Jesse Ray Mix. I mix that. Like that's what I do now. And I kind of just hit the ground running as an internet loudmouth from there.
Yeah, and that was a big part of like, I remember you know, you get the whole thing of being able to mix at home and spend time with your kids, and that, you know, this is an industry where it's like, you just work until you drop like dead, you just work, you know, and you were kind of like, nah, I'm gonna mix at home and I'm gonna be with my kids, and you know what I mean. And that that in itself is like as brave a choice
it's a brave
as
decision.
I'm gonna just mix. You know what I mean? Because known people who've gone like, I'm gonna just mix. Tracking's not for me. I'm getting these great credits. I'm gonna try and go for it. But to also go like, maybe I'm gonna try and have a work-life balance.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
for an engineer, it's kind of...
Well, it's like you've taken the next step to what you were saying originally, where you're so grateful just to work in this thing called music. Like, that's amazing. And then you're like, right, I'm going to do that and have control over my life. Do you know what I mean? Or as much control as we can try to get, you know? And so, and that, what you're saying there, selling all the equipment, like, that is unreal. Like, that's a gamble.
It was a fool's errand.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
There's a million other timelines where, you know, where it went the other way and it didn't work out, and I probably had to go back to tracking. But yeah, I'm thankful to be in this timeline.
So I'm going to go off the top of my head. And yeah, you just answer first thing that comes to your head, be it a product, a feeling, you know, a style or whatever it is, you know. So we'll go speakers.
Strauss. So, easy.
Yeah. Headphones.
AirPods.
AirPods.
2 Pro. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Not Max's.
I haven't never heard those. I just like these. I mean, the consumers wear that. That's the one everybody has.
Yeah.
So like, that's what
The Max is a good too,
yeah.
I've heard. Yeah. I've heard.
Vocals.
Right now, can I do like kind of a long answer?
Fine.
Or they have to be quick.
No.
Right now, I did a project. I went out and produced a record with this guy in Bali a couple months ago for Michael Franti, but he told me, he's like, okay, for the trip, dude, I got a C800 clone. I was like, no. What kind? He's like, the Golden Age Project. I was like, oh, I haven't heard that. Okay, and we got there, and this thing it's ridiculous. So now I'm mixing the whole album, and it's like, I'm like gonna buy one of these mics, the Golden Age. They can't even sell it in the States because I think there's like I'm assuming there's some sort of a
trade
litigious activity.
Tariff.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe I help you.
But they're on
I'll
Reverb.
buy it and then send it to you. So.
And it sounds identical. It's like the exact C800. It's really delicious sounding.
And what's the price on it?
Well, the used ones are going for like $2,600
Oh, cool.
instead of 15,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I still wanted to say Sony though. So.
You can just write it on there. Though.
Yeah, you can get those guys that like, you know, when someone wins the Super Bowl and they're inscribing.
Yeah,
you know, you can.
Drums.
Oh. What else? Can we slow mo? Who's ever's editing? Give me a slow mo of that sound effect. Gretsch stop sign kit from the 70s.
Okay,
Sick.
right. Shit. I'll need to check that out. Yeah.
They'll have one down in Blackbird. We'll get down there.
Okay,
down
cool.
there.
And then we'll go studio snack.
Probably some almonds.
Again. Every time.
You'll be on your protein.
Don't start.
Creatine.
Just a spoonful of creatine. Do you see the guys who just put the powder in without?
Yeah, just raw eggs straight after.
That's the pre-workout. And they go, and a little sip of water.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's actually really bad because the pre-workout, we're going off topic, but it needs a lot of water to like actually like get a full
you're gonna fuck your kidneys.
So you actually want to have quite a lot of water.
Yeah,
when you take that.
Pre-workout does nothing to me though. It's quite funny. I don't know.
Same. I do like a half cup of coffee or like a little Diet Pepsi, and then
Yeah, and it's always called like Toxic Death 9000.
Okay, we're going off topic,
dude. What's the Rich Piana has the 5150 pre-workout, and it's like there's like medical warnings on it.
I had one, and like it made certain things change color. So like
sick. Cool. We'll put the link in the.
Yeah. No, you can't buy it in the UK again. It's fully, you had dodgy import.
Right, we've got to get this man out of here.
Yeah. So evening or day sessions.
Oh, I was a day guy forever, but lately I've been mixing at night. Yeah, I'm happy.
You like it?
Yeah, I'm locking into something different at night. It's been cool.
Nice. And lastly, plugin.
It's going to be one that we have coming later this spring. So you guys just got to stay tuned.
We got to wait.
It's not out.
Amazing. Well, last question. We can wrap it on that. what advice would you give to any guys or girls that are trying to make it into the music industry and become a super successful mix engineer like yourself?
Yeah. Be open to criticism and be listening to the people around you that you really, really trust, and be open to the fact that we're not all perfect, and sometimes if they can correct us on our personality flaws, it could really help us get. I think that it's just going to be about treating people right, because I want to take this answer again, because it's just there's so many legs I want to go off on right now. Let me take it again. I'm taking it again. Don't air this or I'll fucking come for you, man. Treating people nicely. Well, basically, I was always stubborn.
I'll fucking come for you. Treat people nicely.
Yeah, exactly.
The two sides.
Yeah, it's really fucking challenging, man. But like
having integrity, right?
Yeah. It's God, it's so hard to answer. That's fucking hard to answer. I don't even know how to answer this.
I mean, you told me about interesting things where you'd got mixes rejected at points and stuff like that, and you were saying, because I was like, oh man, you had all the success, and you were like, I probably lost as much huge projects as I gained at that point. You know what I mean? And
definitely.
And you were thinking about, and there was that thing about being very like, I'm going to show them my fucking mix, versus being like, I'm going to respect. And I'm going to do a little less. And
yeah, I'm off that now. I just fucking give them
now you go
mix of
that. Yeah. Now you're like, yeah.
Every time I see that clip air, I'm like, I don't feel that way anymore. Like, I'm not careful.
That's why we're back. We need to, reset the record. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to get that there. Okay, maybe restate the question. I'm just going to take it fresh.
Okay, cool. So, last question before we wrap up. What advice would you give to any guys or girls watching this podcast that want to become a great mix engineer like yourself?
Yeah. Well, I think that if you're already thinking about getting into this, chances are, you're extremely obsessed with doing this. This is we're like drawn to it like a magnet. It's a really addictive type of art form. And really, if you already have that, I think you're doing the right thing. Because it does require that level of obsession and commitment, at least in the early years, to dig in and not only find, get all the rudiments down, but find your voice in this thing and find what it's all about. And then from there, it's just going to be about finding the right people and connecting with the right people. And there's a lot of luck in that. But I think if you're putting out good vibrations and treating people with respect and integrity, then I think good things happen. And if you're not, and if you're a sleazy slime ball coming into town, I think people are going to sniff it out like wolves, and that's good. Show yourself so we know to stay the fuck away from you.
Yeah.
Get out of my face, biatch. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Jesse,
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Great chat.
Oh yeah.
You guys. This camera, you guys at home, you've been watching the Unsung podcast by Audiomovers. I've been your host, mixed by Jocelyn, and as always, Matt, the co-host from Audiomovers, and Jesse. We're going to have all of his stuff linked below, so you can check it out if you don't know already, living under a rock. Apologies if you can see my feet, but have to respect the feng shui of the studio.
That's it.
And make sure you like, subscribe, do all that great stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Who let the dogs out? I thought you guys were going to join us. Come on.
You were looking at it.
I was ready for you spent too long pushing pencils. And then
Dylan! All right, cool. Sweet, bro.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys. That's a good combo.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That was great.